What's up, everybody? I go by the name ShotofADRENALIN, and thank you for tapping in with me once again. If this is your first time on the channel, please take some time, scroll through the vids, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you're making your way back, welcome back, son. All right, have you ever noticed how rap superstardom doesn't really work like regular fame anymore? Like, once you get to a certain level, it's not just about the music anymore. It's not even about the performance or even the branding. Now it's become image maintenance, narrative management, emotional choreography. And I think that's where a lot of people get fooled, because they still think that the artists they're watching are just being artists. Nah, that's finito. A lot of the times we're just watching human beings trying to survive into a character that's gotten too expensive for them to turn off. And that's where I want to start. Because what happens when your persona starts eating away at your judgment? What happens when controversy becomes part of the marketing cycle? And most importantly, what happens to the person underneath it all? You know, I don't think we talk enough about the psychological toll of being globally visible while also being commercially useful. That takes a very specific kind of person. Like, think about it. Like, how many artists do we actually know? How many are actually living as themselves? And how many are performing a survival script for the industry or for their fan base, or just for the algorithm to help them move forward? That's why this Pooh Shiesty situation is a bit wild to me. Because when I look at this situation, all I'm seeing is what happens when somebody gets so locked into the energy of their character or their persona that the money doesn't elevate their mindset at all. It just amplifies it. And that's some scary shit. Because you would think after spending years in a federal penitentiary, after getting another chance, after getting back in motion with a single like FDO skyrocketing to #1 on the charts, after seeing what's at stake, that there will be some type of internal recalibration. Some kind of, all right, it's time to switch it up a little bit. But when reports say that this whole thing was tied to trying to get out of a contract with Gucci Mane, and it alleges that that turned into a crazy ass robbery setup type shit, I'm sitting here like, the whole time while driving to the studio, there wasn't one cooler head that prevailed? Not even a Pops? Like, seriously, did nobody think to protect the bag? How about we just not jeopardize our cash cow? I'm genuinely baffled by this. Not one? And that's why I keep saying, money does not fix a mindset. That shift is a choice. Money just reveals what you and who you already are. If anything, money might give your bad decisions a bigger room to echo in. Like, if your mentality is already reckless, the money is just gonna fund the recklessness even better. And in this case, it feels like Pooh Shiesty's persona stayed in alignment with his impulses. And that impulse was a destructive one. And if we're being honest here, there is a major difference between authenticity and self-destruction. Let me say that again. There is a major difference between authenticity and self-destruction. Just because something's really you doesn't mean it's wise to implement. Just because it's consistent with your music doesn't mean that that part of you is worth protecting. Man, sometimes the culture praises alignment even when it aligns you in chaos, right? Sometimes people say, well, at least he's being real. Real to what? His ego? To the habits that's keeping him locked up in a cage? If that's what you want me to applaud? I'd rather applaud the bars, I'd rather applaud the flows, but you want me to applaud somebody doing something that's really gonna get them locked up for the next 40, 50 years? What are we saying? Now flip that over to Kanye, and we see that same machinery in motion, just from a much higher altitude. Now, with Ye, it's not the street alignment, it's controversy management at its finest at a global scale. And that's what makes him such a strange case study. This is someone who can still sell out stadiums. This is someone who can still gain the attention of the masses, right? Still have people emotionally tied to what his music meant to their lives, their childhood, their taste, their sense of possibility. I mean, Ye got a record called I Wonder. Whole nother story for a whole nother video. Love that shit. But recent reports say that he sold out the SoFi Stadium in California twice twice. And his new album, Bully, still opened up to huge numbers, even through the backlash of his recent anti-Semitic comments and other conduct that didn't really keep him in the best of lights. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the public forgives him? Or did the public just decide that nostalgia is more important than accountability? Because those are not the same things. And that's where things get uncomfortable. Because Ye is already a legend. We know this. His contributions to music alone is stamped. His influence on fashion, production, sonics, confidence, the overall spectacle of an artist. All of that is real. Was and is still real. So severing him from people's personal inspiration was always going to be a hard task. But hey, let's not act like difficulty means no manipulation is happening. We have to be critical here because Ye understands that attention is currency, and nobody understands attention almost as well as Kanye West. He understands disruption and how to make a room full of people pay attention to him. And now, I think a lot of people have this perception of him where he only really appears in full force when it's time to sell something. That's a problem because now controversy feels less like a breakdown of his image and just part of the marketing cycle. Shock, silence, reemergence, product, numbers, debate, repeat. It's all the same thing. The last 4 or 5 albums, we can kind of pattern out the same blueprint that he's used. And at some point, if you're the audience, you gotta ask yourself the question, am I listening because I genuinely believe in this person's art? Or am I participating in a machine that knows exactly how to weaponize my memory against my principles? Now that's the weird part. Me, still have some reservations about Ye. And understandably so. And the reason I say this plainly is because this is where being a listener gets psychologically messy. You're not just picking songs anymore. You're litigating who you let shape your social imagination, your politics, your worldview, your senses, your genius, and your sense of permission. Certain artists, especially like a Kanye, they aren't just a soundtrack to our lives. They influence how we think about power, how we think about rebellion, but most importantly, how our identity works. So when someone like Ye says or does something harmful, but the art still gives emotional gravity, now the listener has quite a conundrum. Because what do I choose? The beats or my peace of mind? What's it gonna be? And the system thrives off of that type of confusion. The system loves when conviction is split because a split in the audience is still an engaged audience. Moral conflict still streams. Discomfort buys tickets. Outrage circulates a clip. So then the question becomes, is controversy hurting the brand or is it feeding it? And that's why I say rap superstardom is very different than fame. It's image warfare. Sometimes artists weaponize the noise. Sometimes they weaponize the silence. Sometimes they vanish just long enough for your memory to do the cleanup work for them. And behind all that, it's still a person. A person who may not even know where their real self ends and that marketable character of theirs begins. Man, that's one hell of a psychological toll. Imagine waking up every day to millions of people not responding to your humanity. The only thing they respond to is your ability, your symbolism, your ability to trigger a conversation. That will distort anybody. I don't care how much bread you got. So no, this conversation is not just about celebrities and the bad choices that they make. It's about what happens when your image becomes labor. Whether it's Pooh Shiesty crashing out in the most destructive version of himself, or it's Ye blending controversy and nostalgia to gain more commercial success. Both situations are exposing a very brutal truth. If the machine finds value in your character, it may never encourage you to heal. It may only continue to reward your continuation. And that's why as fans, as artists, as observers, we have to get sharper. Not colder, but sharper. Because not everything real is healthy. And not every sold out stadium indicates that the truth is understood. Sometimes it just means that the machine is still working. And that's what I want people to sit with. What is this level of fame actually doing to people? And what is it doing to us? that we keep mistaking survival tactics for authenticity. That's the real conversation. Now, with that being said, I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me today. For more information about SOA music, more conversations like this, or what's to come on the channel, please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the hype button, and I'll make sure to take care of the rest. I'll see you soon. Take action. Thank you so much for tapping in on this video. If you're interested in learning more about the music or the creative talks that we have on this channel, please feel free to subscribe right here on YouTube. And of course, you can follow me on all socials at ShotofADRENALIN. Take action.